Thank you, Mayor Clark. We're now live.
Thank you very much, Mr. Locke. Really appreciate it. And welcome, everybody. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the lands upon which we're meeting today, the Dja Dja Wurrung. And I'd like to acknowledge their ongoing relationship and connection to the lands and waters upon where we all work and live. They are well connected to our land. They continue their age-old ceremonies, which continue to reinforce and demonstrate their resilience. I'd like to acknowledge elders past and present, and of course any Indigenous people we have joined us here today. So thank you very much. Let's get on. Okay, I'd like to formally open our council meeting of the 24th of February. Welcome councillors, Councillor Hood, Riley, Hockey, Henderson and Cornish, and welcome officers. Thank you all very much for attending today. We'll start off with our commitment. Councillor Riley.
We, the councillors of Hepburn Shire, declare that we will undertake on every occasion to carry out our duties in the best interests of the community, and that our conduct shall maintain the standards of the Code of Good Governance, so that we may faithfully represent and uphold the trust placed in this council by the people of Hepburn Shire.
Thank you very much, Councillor Riley. Item number 3, apologies. We do have Councillor Hewitt's an apology. Are there any other apologies? No. Okay, thank you, Julie. Noted. Item number 4, councillor or anyone, do we have any conflicts of interest? Julie, noted. Item number 5, confirmation of minutes. Obviously that we had the meeting minutes the 16th of December 2025. I would like a motion forward to acknowledge that they are the true and accurate reflection of the minutes that we had. So I'd like to put that motion forward.
So moved.
Thank you very much, Councillor Henson. Seconded. Thank you, Councillor Cornish. All those in favour, raise your hands. Presume unanimous.
Yep.
Thank you very much. We have now moved to item number 6. We have a condolence motion for Mr. Rob Hanson. Councillor Hockey, would you like to?
Yep, certainly.
Yeah. So I'll take that. Thank you. Move that. Anyone would like to second that?
Yes.
Councillor Henderson, thank you very much. Councillor Hockey, or would anyone like to speak to the motion?
Yes, I would.
Thank you, Councillor Hockey.
Yes, so this was a really significant loss in Clunes, and it came out of nowhere, so it's hit the town really hard. Rob was just 40 and had a young family, and he died as a result of an industrial accident on the farm late on a Sunday night. Now, many of the first responders were also close acquaintances, so it was a very confronting scene. And he died as a result. He was a highly skilled and hard-working local welder, and he was doing work at the time. At his funeral in Ballarat, it was attended by hundreds, if it didn't nudge thousands, over 1,000. And he was recognised as a council member of the Clunes Primary School and his football and netball club committee member, and as a senior vice president of the Ag Society. And you certainly got that feeling that he was going to be a significant community leader, and he was cut down in the brain. Councillors actually met Rob last year at a briefing at the Clunes Warehouse, where he was stepping up to support the Clunes Sports Ground project. So he was with us then, and I think being mentored in that role to be a future leader. He was repeatedly described to me as a ripper bloke, and yeah, the town is still reeling here some weeks later. So yeah, I commend that motion to the council.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Anyone else like to speak? So, all those in favour of passing the motion, put to the floor. Passed unanimously. Passed unanimously. Thank you. I would like to are there any urgency motions from the other condolence motions?
Yes, Mayor, if I may, I'd like to move that Council resolves to admit an item relating to a condolence motion into urgent business in accordance with Council's governance rules, as the item relates to a matter which has arisen since distribution of the agenda and cannot safely or conveniently be deferred until the next council meeting.
Thank you. I'd like to second that motion. Thank you, Councillor Henderson. Would you like to speak to the motion, Councillor?
Thank you, Mayor. The motion is that council acknowledges with great sadness the passing of Trentham identity Jack Griffiths. Jack Griffiths was a much-loved member and supporter of the Trentham Football Netball Club and the broader Trentham community. He was a man whose presence will be deeply missed by all who knew him. Jack was the kind of bloke who brought warmth, laughter and loyalty wherever he went. We extend our sincere condolences to Michelle and the Griffiths family.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Would anyone else like to speak to the motion? No, so we'll put that to the floor. All those in favour, raise your hands. That's unanimously. And thank you. Would like to acknowledge that we do the loss we've had as a community for the two people. So thank you very much, councillors. So we'll move to item number 7, which is a public participation. Item 7.1, petitions. I believe we have no petitions, Mr. Thomas, no. So we do have 7.2, we do have one request to speak to council. Ms. Julie Tremaine, thank you very much for joining us. If you'd like to come up and present to council, just to advise you have 3 minutes and you will not be interrupted at all. So over to you. Yep. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you to the council for this opportunity to put forward a request for an important problem occurring every day on Victoria Street in Creswick. As a representative, resident and ratepayer of Victoria Street, we would like to submit a proposal to change the speed limit, which is currently at 50, to 40 speed limit. This will be in line with Napier Street, a school zone. We have in Victoria Street a primary school, a kindergarten, a community centre, a monthly Saturday market, John Curtin Aged Care and the Creswick Railway Station. Our major concern is due to the heavily increased usage of Victoria Street. It's not a road or a highway, but one that would never be known. Daily we endure the substantial noise from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week. We have heavy farm haulage, livestock haulage, B-doubles, buses, utes, trailers, tradies vehicles, four-wheel drive, sedans, motorbikes and cyclists. There is little respect, courtesy or care to observe the legal 50 speed limit. It has become a very dangerous street for our residents, our school children, our pedestrians, kindergarten pickups and now an increase in electric bikes and scooters. If possible, we also need an extra sign near the community centre, as this would be helpful, as there is only one sign at the bottom of the street and one near the railway station. We believe the new signs are called a change to a traffic control device and are not an exorbitant cost to the council to change. Please take this serious problem on board and give the residents of Victoria Street some hope. And many thanks for your attention.
Thank you very much for your concise presentation today.
Through you, Mayor,
Yep.
Mr. Luce, Director of Infrastructure, has got Julie's details and reach out over the coming week, just a further conversation to
Sorry.
Mr. Lucas, Director of Infrastructure, will contact you over the next week to further discuss that.
Lovely, thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, council, we'll move to item 7.3, which is public questions. Now, I believe we have 19 of them. Do we need to extend the time at this point?
Yeah, we probably should, because we probably should seek a motion for an extra 15 minutes.
Excellent. All right, council, I'd like to put forward a motion to extend our question response time from 30 minutes to 45 minutes. I'll second that motion. Do I hear yes? Yes, thank you. Seconded by Tim. Thank you, Councillor Droley. Appreciate that. All those in favour? Thank you very much. Well, we have 19 questions, Councillor. So the process that we will go through, and for the galleries, Mr. Thomas will read the question and Councillor Cornish will read.
Thank you. Questions 1 and 2 are from Heather Mutibat. I believe you're asking your questions in person.
Welcome.
Getting over and done with quickly, then,
Not at all.
Thank you. I've got 2 questions tonight. The first one is in regard to the Albert Street roadworks at Dalesford. Councillors, last August, the community was invited to participate in a survey in relation to providing feedback on full concept plan for works at Albert Street, Daylesford. The purpose of these works, and I quote, was to provide safety improvements on Albert Street from Duke Street to the Midland Highway, / House Street. After the community feedback stage, the next stage was, and I again quote, council will review the feedback received through the process and combine with an assessment of road safety impacts, determine a preferred option and incorporate into a grant funding application. I'd just like to say to date, I might have missed it, but I've seen no reporting about the survey or council has determined any option. I note in tonight's agenda, the project has been listed as one of the 10 priority projects in our priority project statement. It states, seeking funding to provide a long-term safety upgrade to realign the intersections at Duke and Albert Streets and Albert Street and Midland Highway, in brackets House Street, Daylesford, and transform Albert Street into a community activation space. My question is, what were the results of the survey and the review of the community feedback? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. As part of the community survey, residents were invited to provide their preferences across a range of options for proposed road safety upgrades. Can everybody hear me there? Sometimes it's a bit of a problem. More than 140 responses were received, reflecting varying levels of support for the different options presented. Key themes emerging from the feedback included a strong interest in the creation and activation of public green space, improvements to traffic conditions and pedestrian connections, and continued access for adjacent businesses. All the information and community feedback has been workshopped with councillors prior to considering the funding opportunities. Council's Participate Hepburn page is currently being updated to include a summary of the survey outcomes, and we encourage you to monitor the page for updates or reach out to council officers directly if you would like to discuss the findings in more detail. And as usual, please, Heather, contact the councillors as you would if you have any questions.
Thank you.
Your second question.
Okay, my second question relates to the Daylesford Town Hall. Like many others, I have been looking forward to the reopening of our much-loved Daylesford Town Hall, which has been closed now for almost 18 months to complete essential repairs. According to council press releases published during last year, providing updates on the progress of these repairs, the reopening was scheduled and on track for March 2026, next month. The essential electrical works were to proceed following the completion of the roof works and other associated repairs, which I believe were completed around July last year. But I note in the financial report attached to this latest council agenda that it is stated in relation to the Daylesford Town Hall repairs, and I quote, Daylesford Town Hall, in brackets, $411,978. And then it goes on to say, minimal essential electrical upgrades will be undertaken this financial year, with additional required upgrades to be considered as part of the Daylesford Community Facilities Project. I guess part of the reason for my question is also if what I'm going to ask is actually going to impact on the opening of the town hall. So my question is, why are only minimal essential upgrades to be undertaken this financial year? Thank you.
Electrical works required for the reopening of the town hall auditorium are complete. The minimal upgrades referenced are minimum additional works to the works already completed. We are on track for the facility to reopen on the 28th of February this year, which is only a few days away. Whilst ensuring electrical safety, we do note that the scope for the electrical work was reduced to consider the potential community facilities project requirements and avoid duplicated costs.
Thank you. It's very good to hear that it's going to be opening very soon, and we look forward to visiting. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Question 3 and 4 are from Andrew Robertson. I'll read those questions. Question 3, over recent years, I've become increasingly aware as the issues of housing in the Shire. The steep rise in property values has impacted on many people who may theoretically be asset rich but cash poor. In some parts of the Shire, the recent rate increase of 10% has in many cases been actually more than that because of increased property values. Item 7 of the financial report tonight's agenda claims that significant efforts have been made in recent years to reduce outstanding unpaid rates, which currently stand at approximately $4 million. This includes 730 properties which have been transferred to third-party agencies, 57 properties on a hardship plan and 198 on payment arrangements. What additional assistance will Council offer to assist ratepayers who are clearly struggling to pay on time?
Thank you. Council is committed to working collaboratively with ratepayers to support them in meeting their rates and charges obligations. Ratepayers experiencing difficulty paying their rates on time are strongly encouraged to contact Council's rates team to discuss available payment plan and individual hardship support options. Council takes an empathetic approach to debt collection and notes we have a very positive trend of rates collection.
Question 4, will Council waive the 10% interest charge for those who enter into and comply with a payment arrangement?
Interest is not charged to ratepayers who enter into and adhere to an approved payment arrangement. Any accrued interest on overdue rates and charges is not automatically waived. We encourage ratepayers to contact Council to discuss their situation, and any request for an interest waiver will be considered in line with Council's revenue collection and financial hardship policy. For this reason, we encourage ratepayers to contact us as early as possible to discuss their options.
Question 5 and 6 are from Julian McDonald, and I'll read those. I'll read question 5 and 6 together. The financial report in the agenda shows that up to 250,000 and 90,000 respectively will be spent by June on Daylesford Town Hall and Daylesford community facilities, with a further 821,000 to be spent after June. The question being, what work is necessary before the Daylesford Town Hall can open to the public, and what costs and from which budget will the money be taken?
Thank you for the question. All essential works required to ensure the building roof is safe and watertight, and the electrical components are safe and meet current requirements for the reopening of the Daylesford Town Hall auditorium are complete. And the auditorium will be open next week. The facility is currently available for bookings post the 28th of February 2026. We also note the quarterly financial report identifies that not all unspent funds will be carried forward. Potential funding for the Daylesford Town Hall refurbishment may be considered for further renewal work, and the unspent funding for the community facilities will be considered in line with Council's direction for a staged approach to the design, with the balance identified as savings that will remain in the financial reserve. The 2025-26 budget includes the Daylesford Town Hall in Council's capital renewal budget, and the Daylesford Community Facilities project is funded from the financial reserve created specifically for that project in accordance with the Council determination at the December 2022 Council meeting. These projects will be delivered under budget.
Question 7 from Louise Johnson. The financial report indicates that up to 5.5 million will be potentially unexpended by the 30th of June 26 on capital works, including minimal electrical upgrades for the Daylesford Town Hall. Is this to enable Council to break even on a cash basis?
It is not accurate to suggest that Council's underspend on capital works is to have a break-even cash budget. Council remains committed to delivering our capital works program. Most unexpended capital works funds will be carried forward into the next financial year to enable projects to be completed if they have experienced some delay in the current financial year. We also note that 3.5 million of this relates to the Wheelers Bridge project, which is being considered in tonight's agenda. Council remains on track on track to conclude the financial year in line with its budgeted end of year position.
Question 8, but also from Louise, is what are the implications for community use of the Daylesford Town Hall?
There are no implications for community access to the Town Hall in line with our commitment. The planned works to secure the facility have recently been completed and the Daylesford Town Hall will be available for community use at the end of this month as committed to.
Next question is from John Brereton, who's in person. Ask the next questions. John?
Thank you for the opportunity to put these questions to you. Just a couple of background statements before I ask the question. We appear to have ongoing problems with indebtedness, including rates arrears and failure to pay rent. The latter appears to be the case with respect to the Hepburn Spa facility. These pockets of debt cumulatively contribute to a sizable problem. Given now that there are no funds projected for June 26th to be in the Mineral Springs account, I ask you, 1, what is in fact the current rental and profit sharing arrangement for the Hepburn Spa facility? And 2, why will no funds be residing in the Mineral Springs account post June 26th?
Thank you, Mr. Brereton.
I'll just answer the first part of your question, Mr. Brereton. All income generated from our Mineral Springs, including that from the commercial lease arrangement with Belgravia for the Hepburn Bathhouse, are contained and accounted for in the Mineral Springs Financial Reserve. The reason for the budgeted zero balance is the budgeted expenditure drawn from the financial reserve has been allocated to projects such as renewal works on the bathhouse, decking and drainage, upgrades at the bathhouse, implementation of the Central Springs Master Plan, stabilising the pedestrian bridge at 10th Street, and ongoing general maintenance across all Mineral Springs reserves. Right, the next part, why will no funds be in the Mineral Springs account post June? This will be dependent on the budgeted expenditure for 26-27 yet to be determined. However, we do anticipate the financial reserve will continue to replenish and have a positive balance in future years.
Thank you. Question 11, Ian McBean. Are you read? My reading of the mid-year budget review and financial report is that council is simply treading water, unable to do much while holding a tenuous financial position. Turning to the priority project statement, I sought some reassurances that council has plans to improve the situation. This should be a statement of hope and good intention. 10 projects are identified, 8 of which are presented in the glossy attachment, totaling projected expenditure of $12.6 million, most of which is sought from the state government with a minimal $10,000 in matching funding from council. It is disturbing to note the completion of the critically important future Hepburn settlement strategy appears to be dependent on unconfirmed funding. How confident is council receiving these funds when it is clearly providing negligible matching funding?
Thank you. The specific funding asks included within the priority project statement seek to fully fund the projects rather than include a council co-contribution. Council has demonstrated a strong history of obtaining state and federal government grants for various projects and has strong relationships with all sides of politics. So we would expect to be successful in obtaining funding for some of the projects. The future Hepburn settlement strategy does not rely on unconfirmed funding. Its inclusion highlights its significance, and any available funds would accelerate parts of the project.
Also from Ian McBean, 2 advocacy projects are listed in the agenda paper, but for some reason are not included in the glossy presentation. Listing relate to a straightforward request to include local government and stronger workplace occupational violence legislation and an omnibus call for legislative reforms aimed at tackling financial sustainability issues and proposed measures to inform rate capping, amongst others. The latter appears to call for a continuation of the status quo and indicates that council believes that future sustainability rests on higher rates and direct the present reality for many ratepayers struggling to pay the recent 10% rate hike. This is not sustainable and is not leadership. Why doesn't council acknowledge the structural viability issues evident since this establishment and call for a review of boundaries that will better serve the long-term interests of citizens?
Page 74 of the attachments to the agenda includes the two items you referred to. Council has an adopted financial vision and financial plan, the 10-year financial plan, which aligns with the council plan, delivering core services and infrastructure renewal with a tight but improving financial outlook. The financial sustainability of all councils, but in particular rural councils, is of concern and is why council is calling on a range of measures to improve the financial sustainability of Hepburn Shire and all council. Council does not have an adopted position to consider boundary changes, as this would be a decision for state government to consider, including whether in fact it does serve the long-term interests of citizens.
Question 13 is from Tim Anderson. What point here?
Mr. Anderson.
Okay, mine relates to Burke Square up here, but I think it's also a bit of an example of the tension we've got between people that call this our home. It's where we raise our kids, it's where we live. To us, it's not a destination, it's not a business, it's actually our home. And what's happening in Burke Square now is a good example of where that's gone askew. That we've got, if anyone's looked at it recently, the tables take up the whole zone. I'm not sure what the footprint they're meant to be doing is. Any locals or I've seen tourists go there to sit down with fish and chips or something they bought up the street and they're told to leave the area, that it's a beer garden. And they walk around looking where's space to eat. It's ridiculous. The history of Burke Square, which actually goes back to the original town plan in the 1850s. Originally Albert Street came down next to the pub and joined up there, and when they did the roundabout works, they aligned it to where it is now. But at that time, the then council made it adamant that that was not to be a beer garden, it was a community space. That time the hotel tried to put chips and tables there and take it over, and the council made a motion in that time not to do it. So it's since that accident, and at the time of the accident, and I'll be sending something to the coroner's court, that I believe those tables were in an inappropriate spot. And in that collision, they acted as guillotines that did a lot of injuries. Had they been where they meant to be, the impacts and the outcome might have been quite different and quite less traumatic. So I think that there's quite a tension there, and I'm not sure whether the current arrangement is something that's been agreed upon by the council or whether it's something they're imposing.
Your question, Mr. Anderson.
Yep. The question is really, have I got 2 minutes? I just want to read out quickly a thing here that's about balancing. That the tourism is important to our local economy, but we need to balance that, and we need to make sure that what happens is within balance of that. And the tourism, firstly, is looked at, or any tourism proposal is looked at, to how it fits into the context of those living here, not as something that those living here have to live with. And so my question is, are the councillors happy that Burke Square's been taken over by the hotel, that it's now a massive beer garden, and the locals and visitors are being told to leave the area, even if they're sitting on the grass, because that's now a beer garden?
Thank you, Mr. Anderson.
I'll read out the question I have here, and if you could confirm that for me, because you have a question and a statement all rolled in one. Do the councillors support the takeover of Burke Square by the Royal Hotel to the exclusion of the community using it? Is that your question? Thank you. Outdoor seating and dining for patrons is commonplace throughout the Shire and the Shires and States shopping strips, and key contributor to our vibrant local economy. A business can lawfully do so with a permit from council. The Royal Hotel has a valid permit to provide tables and chairs for its patrons on the grassed area adjacent to it. The permit allows for 20 tables on the grassed area, and officers continue to monitor outdoor dining arrangements for compliance. The permit expires at the end of June at which time a new permit will need to be applied for and assessed by council officers based on the council adopted outdoor dining and trading policy.
Thank you.
Get a supplementary, or is that it? Okay.
Thank you very much, Mr. Anderson.
Questions 14 and 15 are for Daniel McDermott. I'll bring them. The Hepburn Shire Council motion in December 22 clearly directs usage of funds for staff accommodation and community facilities that were to be included in the proposed Hepburn Hub. Why is the trust used now being characterised for use for community facilities generally of the former Birch Ward?
Thank you. The financial reserve remains only for the purpose in which it is described in the December 2022 resolution, and it isn't being characterised in any other way.
And what amount of the trust has been used for other purposes by council since its creation?
0. All funds expended to date from the reserve have been for the specified purpose of the reserve in accordance with council's direction.
Questions 16 and 17 are from Yvette Dare. I'll read them. On behalf of the Creswick Park Lake Botanical Reserve Association Incorporated Committee, could council please have the Creswick Park Lake Committee of Management reinstated to support us complete the plan from 2001 for forward work? And could council provide the associations with assistance with grants and heritage advice on how we move forward in the management of the rotunda?
I'd just like to say here that Yvette is in hospital at the moment. She did plan to come here and present this question herself, so she is not well. So we wish her well and a speedy recovery. I also received an email with these questions and they've been forwarded to Mr. Lucas. But the formal response is that council currently manages this reserve and liaises closely with other stakeholders as part of our management. Whilst a community asset committee arrangement is not being considered, this should not restrict the ability to consider improvement opportunities, including grant advice, and officers would be pleased to discuss further.
Questions 18 and 19 are from Linda Hancock. Regarding the priority projects advocacy statement, agenda item 8.5 tonight, adopting this ahead of the budget will preempt the budget on which there needs to be community consultation. Has the community been consulted on the priority of these projects?
Adopting a priority project statement does not preempt the budget. It simply outlines council's funding priorities for government support. This approach aligns with standard practices among other councils, and all included projects have involved community consultation for information sharing.
Question 19, in the unlikely event that state government agrees to any of the large funding requests, does council have the cash to make a contribution?
Council has demonstrated a strong history of obtaining state and federal government grants for various projects. This specific funding asks included within the priority projects statement seek to fully fund the projects rather than include a council co-contribution. It is important that any of these projects will unlikely commence in 26-27 and future years of the adopted financial plan include both the creation of the grants co-contribution funding reserve and improved cash position, making any required contribution possible.
End of the questions.
Thank you very much. And thank you everyone who submitted questions. We do appreciate your interest, concern and passion for our community. We'll now move to item number 8, officer reports. So 8.1, future options for Wheelers Bridge. Councillor Henderson, would you like to introduce this item, please?
Yeah. Wheelers Bridge is a 125-year-old heritage listed mono reinforced concrete bridge, and it has deteriorated over time, resulting in load limits, reduction to a single lane, and ongoing safety concerns regarding the bridge structure. Renewal project retaining the original structure was scoped and costed originally at $3 million. That was the construction cost only, and was partially funded through the federal government's bridge renewal program on an 80-20 contribution basis. So really that's it in a nutshell.
Yep, all right, thank you very much, Councillor Henderson. And I do want to acknowledge the sensitivity of this particular issue. The issue before us is difficult. It will have real impacts on our community in quite a substantial way. I also want to acknowledge that this issue reflects a broader infrastructure issue which we're going to be facing again and again as we go forward. We'll take the paper as read. Before I call for a motion, Mr. Lucas, was there anything else you wanted to add or draw councillors' attention to? Thank you, Nora. All right. So, councillors, to open to get the debate going, I will call. We have an officer's recommendation before us. All the councillors have a motion that they would like to propose.
I'd like to move the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Henderson.
Yes, it's not the officer's recommendation.
Yep. Thank you.
That Council 1 resolved to continue the current closure of Wheelers Bridge on Creswick Lawrence Road, Lawrence, due to the continued deteriorating condition, significant safety risk to road users and pedestrians. 2, acknowledges and shares the disappointment of the required closure to ensure the community safety and the inconvenience that closure has caused local community and emergency services. 3, notifies the Federal Government Department of Infrastructure, Transport, Regional Development, Communications, Sport and the Arts of its intention to seek further funding and extension of time to negotiate further funding opportunities. 4, requests that officers engage in advocacy to secure additional funding to facilitate the repair and reopening of the bridge, particularly from the state government. 5, notes as a result of continuing closure of the bridge, planned roadworks of $507,453 on the Creswick Lawrence Road be redirected to the Grants Reserve Fund, as well as any net council funds associated with the bridge construction project, for the purpose of any future co-contribution required for Wheelers Bridge. 6, updates the 2025-26 Capital Works Program and the 2025-26 annual budget to reflect the suspension of the current bridge renewal project and the Creswick Lawrence Road project. 7, requests officers being a report to council in February 2027 detailing the advocacy efforts and provide for consideration of next steps on the project. And 8, requests officers make the necessary administrative and operational arrangements to continue the current closure of Wheelers Bridge on Creswick Lawrence Road, including the development of a formal communications plan to ensure that residents and road users are adequately informed and supported. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Henderson. So councillors, you have a motion in front of you. Would anyone like to second that motion?
Yes, I will, Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Hockey. All right, now I'd like to open the floor for debate for the motion. Speak for, against, or any queries. Councillors?
Thank you, Mayor.
Yep, Mr. Councillor Henderson.
Questions? Any questions or?
Whichever you prefer. If you have a question.
I don't know. People might have questions, that's all.
Yeah,
I have a question.
please, Councillor Hood.
Yeah. Just seeking a clarification from officers. What's the approximate traffic usage of the bridge? Whether you measure it on a daily, weekly, yearly basis? How busy is it? Are there alternate detour routes available? And if so, are they practical, the detour routes?
Thank you, Cass, for the question through the Mayor. The average daily traffic volume last counted in 2021 was around 77 vehicles per day. The detour route has been in place since 2013 when a 15-tonne load limit was introduced. The current detour routes that are in use and proposed as a result of this closure are in 2 parts. So there is a detour that is about a 9-kilometre detour route, which is for regular traffic and emergency vehicles, and that would make use of Mullers Lane. But Mullers Lane route would be inappropriate for regular heavy vehicle movements, and so therefore the proposed detour route for the regular heavy traffic would be further into the Smeaton Township, and that would add a number of kilometre. I think it's a 13-kilometre detour route as a result. I think, councillor, I hope I've captured all of the elements of the question.
Now I've got a picture. Yeah. Thanks.
Any other questions, councillors? Before I ask anyone like to speak in favour or against the motion?
Yes, I'd like to speak in favour of no more questions. Mayor.
No more, yeah, just no more questions, councillors? No, okay, thank you, councillor Henderson.
Right, Mayor, this particular bridge, aside from it being one of the most significant bridges in Australia, and it was actually, there's only now in use, well, it's not in use now, but was the last linear bridge of that type of construction. And it is recognised nationally as a very significant bridge. But it's not just a commuter bridge. The number of people who use the bridge doesn't really tell the story. The area to the north of the bridge is a very high producing cultural area, and there's a lot of wheat and so on that goes to there. By not being able to use the bridge into the future, it adds something like, and most of that grain and goods go to Geelong, but none of them go north. They all go south down to the port. This is a significant bridge for our farming community, but not just for commuters. The time taken to go around makes it really not viable and adds considerable tonnage rate to the cartage of grain. So the reuse of the bridge and fixing it up would significantly reduce the cost to the end user products. So I think, look, the bridge is in a very sad state, but I think that it's really beholden upon us as councillors to consider the heritage of this place, to consider the value to the agricultural community, and also the local commuters, but there's also the issue of firefighting, and there's some very steep creek sides that go up to and from this bridge, and it's quite a considerable distance, and we all know how fast grass fires travel, and so it's really essential that we give this project every chance of success. I'm hopeful that we will be able to get funding, but certainly I do know that we shouldn't just let the bridge go there and deteriorate for the want of having tried. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor. Yes, anyone else like to speak?
Yes, thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, councillor Hocking.
Speak in support of councillor Henderson's motion. I think it reflects the community's position. I think that's so important that as councillors we are reflecting the position of the community. That said, the community is still coming to terms with these events and its closure, so they're still adjusting to the shock of what's unfolded. I think too, as councillor Henderson said, it's an important farming link, and at this time I don't think the federal or the state government are proposing to oversee a decline in our farming areas. The closure of roads is not something I would have thought was on the agenda for this future, the immediate future. So I certainly support councillor Henderson's motion in that form. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Anyone else like to speak? Thank you, councillor Cornish.
Thank you. I commend councillor Henderson for this motion. It took a lot of work to get here too, and a combined effort by all of us. Thank you. But there's some important messages in that, and that is that this council takes its history and heritage very seriously. We will try our very best as a council to at least maintain it so it can be used again. We can't promise anything, but we're going to try even harder to get some more funding. I would never have supported a permanent closure of this bridge, and I think a few councillors would attest to that. And the main reason is it will be closed, and that's due mainly to safety reasons. But the word permanent holds a very long time attached to it, and I just couldn't do that. So let's hope that we can do something here. and give our community what they expect and why they live here, actually. We have a lot of wonderful buildings and heritage listed buildings, and this is just one of them that's quite unique. So it's very important to keep it, and I'm very happy to see that the money will sit in the newly formed Grants Reserve Fund. That fund hopefully will sit it as a one-line item in the budget in future years now, so that the community and councils can use that money as a co-contribution towards other projects, this one being a very important one.
Thank you, Councillor Paul. Any councillors?
Yes, ma'am.
Councillor Drowley?
Yeah, I'd support other councillors' comments in regard to this project to continue advocacy around the funding for the restoration of this bridge. Acknowledge that financial sustainability is certainly a major issue for our shire. We need to be careful how we prioritise our energies and finances, and that rural communities unfortunately bear the brunt of going sort of neglect in our roads and other areas of funding. I think does need greater attention and does deserve a longer train of effort to, this instance, continue the access that local communities deserve. And as others have mentioned, it is a important agricultural link and other service links, so and a historical link as well. So it's I support this month.
Thank you very much. Any other councillors?
Yes, Mayor, I'll speak against the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Hood.
And first of all, I very much acknowledge the heritage value of the bridge, and I acknowledge too that we are talking about two separate projects here. One is to restore the bridge. The other is $507,000 worth of associated roadworks. Now, in an ideal world, which we do not live in, it would be wonderful to restore a heritage value asset. I fully get that. But this is yet another multi-million-dollar project that council would have to make a significant contribution towards. And we need to be realistic and pragmatic and face up to the fact that we don't have the funds to do this. I note that there are practical, reasonable detours available, something in the order of 15 to 20 minutes. That's unfortunate that it adds that journey time on, and I get that it would inconvenience the farmers. But this is a project council cannot afford. The numbers do not justify restoring it. Bridge should be permanently closed. And I'm firmly opposed to the $507,000 of roadworks going into some other sort of reserve, particularly to focused on this one bridge. That $507,000 should be reassigned to the next highest priority road projects across the Shire, and shouldn't be tampered with. It should remain in road funding. So I'll speak firmly against the motion, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hood. And the Councillor would like to any rebuttals? No? Any other comments?
I would, sorry, Mayor.
You can't.
I can't speak again.
Only I can.
Okay. So what's it? Yes, so I've got to put the motion for, you've both spoken for both the movement, second spoken for. So we will put the motion forward. All those in favour, hands up.
Councillor Dryley, Hockey, Henderson, Cornish, Clark.
All those against?
Hood.
Okay, I'll declare the motion carried. Thank you, councillors, for the debate. Okay, we'll now move to item 8.2. So this is domestic animal management strategy 26 to 29. Councillor Dryley to introduce. Thank you, Councillor Dryley.
This report presents the Domestic Animal Management Plan for 26 to 29 for council adoption. The plan is a statutory requirement under the Domestic Animals Act 1994 and sets out council's approach to managing dogs, cats and domestic animal businesses, balancing community safety, animal welfare, environmental protection and fair, consistent compliance over the next 4 years. DAMP has been informed by a structured service review and mixed method engagement undertaken between September and December 25. Feedback emphasised dog attack prevention and nuisance management and strong interest in strengthening cat management, including support for exploring a 24-hour containment approach. The final plan is organised around 4 strategies and an action table with timeframes and evaluation measures, and includes annual review and reporting to Council and Agriculture Victoria. There is an officer's recommendation. Shall I read it out? We'll just keep the summary going. Thank you very much, Councillor Riley. Right, that's the end of the summary.
Thank you very much. And I would like to thank Mr. Wright and his team and the team for doing all the work in this. There was a lot of community engagement in this space as well. Over a period of time, so thank you. Councillors will take the report as read, and it will. Councillors, would we like to put the motion? We have an officer's recommendation. Or do you have an alternative? Councillors, can we get the motion on the floor?
Yeah, I've got a motion I'd like to present.
Yes, thank you, Councillor John.
So this motion, colleagues, it's just simple improvement on the 4.2 action around containment of cats. And it doesn't make a great deal of change other than it strengthens the implementation pathway from a general exploration to a pathway to implementation, which I think 59% supported a 24-hour cat curfew in the surveys that we received from community.
I need you to read the motion.
Oh, all right.
So putting forward, thank you.
Per the officer's recommendation with the 2 extra exclusions, update the working for action 4.2 to review the effectiveness of the current dusk to dawn cat curfew and develop a costed evidence-based implementation pathway for a 24-hour cat containment requirement, including benchmarking, legal and enforcement modelling, resourcing needs, targeted community and stakeholder engagement, and an equitable education and transition plan to support community understanding and compliance, and builds upon Council's previous commitment to work towards development of a 24-hour cat confinement policy.
So that was 4.2 years read out?
Yes, and at 5, it updates the wording in the section 5, the new animal section, with the following text.
So do we actually have this word, Councillor?
So this is on the screen. So we've read out. So for
thank you.
clarification, there's 3 points to the motion, and Councillor Drive is moving those 3 per the officer's recommendation in the agenda. An item 4 that he has just read out, and an item 5, which would update the wording for section 5 within the report, which is pretty detailed and would be made available through the minutes. So no need to read that out in full.
So, councillors, can you all see that? So we're discussing. Right.
Yes, thanks, Mayor.
Okay, no worries. All right. Would anyone like to just to get that motion? Anyone like to second that motion? Second the motion. Okay, I'll declare the motion open. So we will start off with, are there any councillors or any questions, and then we'll speak to the motion. No questions. Councillor Drolly, would you like to speak to the motion?
Certainly, Mayor. Look, I received complaints about roving dogs and dog attacks quite regularly, among other things. It is a major concern in our community. Even just last week, I've received a complaint directly from a community member about dogs at large that are threatening her and her dog. And I know that was a major theme coming through in this plan, but also the ongoing issue of feral and domestic cats and the killing of wildlife. It's also another major theme that's coming back in community feedback, with over 59% supporting a 24-hour cat curfew, and noting that it is an ongoing action item from the previous DAMP. And the CSIRO have listed that 1.8 billion animals each year in Australia, including mammals, birds, reptiles and frogs, are killed by feral cats. And that the data, the ABC reported that the data has been considerably represented and underestimated, with cats responsible for most recorded deaths of reintroduced animals in monitored conservation programs. And I think in regards to this motion itself, consideration in particular for disadvantaged people, and an equity angle that introduces education and a transition plan with the 24-hour cat containment model after a review, so that people can comply and feel supported through that process is an appropriate addition to that. And I would ask that councillors support this motion.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Hewson, would like to speak?
Yes, I don't know, and I hope I heard you, Councillor Dryley, wrong, but when he said 1.8 million, I thought I heard him say it's actually 1.8 billion.
Yeah, I meant billion.
Killed, and you know that's if you think about that, try and count to 1 billion, you know, one by one. But the animals are dying across this country at an alarming rate, and the contribution to species that are completely wiped out, and in some places never to be seen again. And a lot of it's to do with nuisance animals, but domestic cats are one of the main culprits. We do have foxes and other things, but there's another aspect to this where people get a cat and it's a much loved pet or a dog. They go onto the road and they're killed, and there's a lot of trauma associated with that. So it's not just for the protection of wildlife, it's for the very protection of the loved pets that people have. And whether a cat wanders at night or not, probably the children in that family and the people love that cat, and we should try and educate them how to protect their pets. Not only look after them, but to protect their pets. So it's a very serious matter. Whether or not we can police it is another matter. But just because we can't police it, it's just like saying, well, you can't stop people speeding on the road, so just let them speed. Well, I don't subscribe to that sort of notion, and I think we should do everything in our power. If we've got to somehow get the government to enable people to buy cat enclosures or subsidise it, for heaven's sake, we can put solar panels on roofs. Maybe we can go another step and help people get some form of containment for their pets. But I commend Councillor Dryley for bringing this up, and I think we should maintain it. And I think education is a big part of it, and we should continue on that fast there.
Thank you, Councillor. Any councillors would also like to speak for or against the motion?
Yes.
Thank you, Councillor.
Yes, so I'd like to speak against this change and this emphasis. I think it's too soon to make judgment about the current curfew, so the overnight curfew, but anecdotally it's not working. There's massive civil disobedience. So in the face of that, to double down and go harder is counterintuitive. It doesn't seem wise in that sense. The statistics of community buy-in are from folk who have self-nominated themselves. So folk who aren't necessarily cat owners, they might be actively anti-cat. So it's not reflective of the community. Those statistics are of concern. It's setting people up to fail. Many people don't live with a cat in this way. They don't see a cat as an indoor creature. Cat is almost a casual acquaintance in many Australian homes. It comes and goes and lives its own life. So yes, there's a problem. It's setting people up to fail in this context, and encouraging civil disobedience at this current time is really fraught and leads to all sorts of other issues. I certainly concur with the dog attack problem. I've been attacked myself in Clunes recently, lost part of my shirt. My partner's had a couple of serious attacks over several years. So for folk who are out walking and jogging dogs are a real problem, and continue to be so. And invariably, after you're attacked, the owner will say, "Oh, I've never done that before." It was the first time. But more broadly, I'd like to highlight that this is, again, very ambitious. Very few councils in the state are doing this. So for our little shire, we keep highlighting how limited we are in our capacity. Here we are again saying we're going to be leaders on this matter. So wonderful, be ambitious, but can we deliver it without causing a lot of unrest in the community at this time when we least can afford it? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hocking. Any other councillors? Councillor Wood? No? Okay. All right, well, we will.
Right of reply, just a right of reply.
A right of reply. Yes, you're the mover.
Acknowledging Councillor Hocking's concerns, and just to say that along the civil disobedience angle, I think it is a multi-layered problem, and benefits to people actually resisting some changes in some circumstances. And I think that there are a number of inequities in our society that people should be standing up and saying more about. And in this case, this motion presents a transition that paves the way to support people to comply over a period of time. And it has a long tail, this proposal, and it was mentioned and as an action in our previous stamp, and this is a continuation of that. And given the wonderful complex biodiversity we have in our rural shire, I think there is certainly plenty of scope for us to be considering this motion and to be leaders in that space. There will be ways we can actually encourage people to move towards a different model, and people can change with the right support.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I will put the motion as it stands to the floor. All those in favour, raise your hands.
Wood, Riley, Henderson, Cornish.
All those against?
Clark, Hocking.
I declare that motion carried. Thank you, councillors. Okay. Okay. Okay, item 8.3, mid-year budget. Financial reports. Councillor Hocking, could you?
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much.
The December 2025 quarterly finance report outlines the financial results for the 6 months ended 31st of December 25, along with a comparison to the amended budget adopted by Council, inclusive of carry forwards from 2024-2025 to complete projects. It includes a summary of Council's financial performance and position for the 25-26 financial year up until 31st of December, and an update on each capital project as at 31st of December. The financial position overall is materially on track to the amended budget, with no major items of concern in the current financial year. There are no recommendations for changes to the budget as part of the mid-year review. The current financial position, needs to be read in the context of Council's financial plan contained within the 25-26 budget in the adopted financial vision, 10th of September 2024. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hocking. Ms. Hone, we'll take it as read. Is there anything you want to draw councillors' attention to?
Thank you, Mayor. No, I believe the content of the report clearly states that the position is material on track. We do acknowledge that the ongoing financial sustainability of the council is exercising a very prudent financial position, and it's very modest, changes to that position. And in line with that, same to the mid-year budget review, does therefore not identify any significant changes to the adopted budget for that reason of that continued approach to staying the course to the adopted financial position.
Thank you very much for your time. So councillors, we do have an officer's recommendation. We would like to put forward a motion. That's what the officers. Councillors?
I'm happy to.
Thank you very much, councillor Hocking, as per the officer's recommendation.
Yes, please, yes.
Thank you very much. Would you like to second that motion?
Yeah.
Thank you, councillor Cornish. Councillor Hocking, would you like to speak to the motion? Councillor Cushing, I'll open for questions.
So no, except that I'll certainly emphasise the need to focus on keeping the rates as low as we possibly can. There is so much anguish in the community about the cost of living. So that needs to be a major focus in all we do going forward.
Councillor Cornish.
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to ask for about a minute and a half extra, if I may, in case I need it. I wrote down a lot here.
Thank you.
I want to speak about the financial position here at this council at the halfway point of the 25-26 financial year and my take on the results presented to us and our community, and also where we stand, what's working and what we need to watch carefully. At the 31st December 2025, council is reporting an operating surplus of 14.5 million. On paper, that is 1.2 million better than budget. That sounds very positive, and it is important to acknowledge that we are currently meeting the financial performance measures set by the state government. However, it is equally important to explain what sits behind the number. It took me a lot of work to find what sits behind the number, by the way. Much of this surplus is due to timing. Rates revenues recognised early in the financial year. Some grants were received earlier than expected, and several capital projects have not yet progressed as quickly as planned. So while the mid-year result is favourable, it does not necessarily represent a permanent improvement in council's long-term position. We currently hold 12.25 million in cash and investments, but only around 500,000 of that is unrestricted. That is a very tight margin for a council of our size. We do not have a large buffer for unexpected events, and that to me is a concern. Debt remains within acceptable limits. Council drew down 5.5 million loan last financial year, and while all debt ratios remain compliant, they are trending upwards. That reduces our flexibility for future borrowing, in my view. One of the biggest areas of concern is the capital works delivery. This year's capital works program totals 18.9 million across 74 projects. At mid-year, only 16% of that budget has been spent, and that is slow. We are forecasting that only about 69% of the total program will be delivered by the end of this financial year. Some major projects are under review, others are delayed due to scope changes, procurement challenges or regulatory processes. While this improves short-term cash flow, it delays infrastructure improvements for the community and creates pressure on future budgets. We as a council must not leave a legacy of debt and an unmanageable, unrealistic position for future council groups to deal with. And for me, in my council term, that will be one of my aims. We are also seeing an increase in overdue rates. Overdue amounts now total just over 4 million. This is higher than this time last year, but probably due to the 10% rate increase and higher emergency services volunteer fund charges. We have hardship and payment arrangements in place, and we are actively working with residents while ensuring council remains financially responsible. Council is financially stable, but operating within very tight margins. We are meeting required benchmarks. We are managing debt within limits. We are delivering services, but our unrestricted cash remains low, and we have no buffer to speak of. Our capital delivery needs improvement. In the past financial years, expenses consistently sat above revenue. In the 23-24 financial year, there was a large paper deficit, and in the 24-25 financial year, there was a major correction back towards balance. The CEO and staff and council, this council, are to be commended for bringing the budget back to balance. And that's how I see it being brought back. Oh, I don't have much more to go. and our long-term resilience depends on disciplined financial management. This mid-year review provides council with the tools required to closely monitor and inform our community about how we are travelling financially. The second half of this year, the financial year, will be critical. We must improve capital delivery, carefully manage expenditure, and continue building financial sustainability. But it should be noted that there is a difference between quarterly financial reports, which show performance, and a half-yearly budget review, which guides corrective action. There's quite a big difference. Our goal remains clear: to protect services, maintain infrastructure, and strengthen council's long-term financial sustainability without placing unnecessary burden on our community. But we do need more assistance, as do other councils. We are not alone. From the state and federal governments, we need help. And it is clear that the rate cap does not come close to dealing with the rising operational and infrastructure costs and community expectations to deliver generally. We will continue to report transparently and make responsible decisions in the best interests of Hepburn Shire.
Thank you very much, Councillor Cornish. We'll now open it up for any questions. If not, I'm happy to also talk through any statements. Councillors, any comments or questions?
I have a question.
Yep, Councillor John.
Councillor Cornish mentions the underspend in capital works. That's the point. I'm just wondering if this could provide an explanation around that, and to what degree that is different to other scenarios we've experienced in the past.
Specifically on capital projects?
Yeah.
Mr. Lucas or Mr. Thomas?
Mr. Lucas.
Mr. Lucas, yep.
Thank you, and through the Mayor, thank you, Councillor, for the question. There's a couple of comments, and there are some details provided in the agenda tonight that provide some explanation to that. But what I might say is that the 74 projects that was referenced earlier by one of the councillors, and that's being delivered by 5 or 6 staff across the year. And so workload is a contributing factor in trying to manage all of those items. And Councillor Cornish outlined the challenges with some of the delays with project approvals and the like. One of those projects is the TAC Road Safety Improvement Projects. It's a $2 million program. We will deliver that by October, and there'll be substantial commitment in the current financial year, but it won't be delivered. What of the $5.5 million that is referenced in the agenda as potential underspend or carry forwards, if you take account of $3.5 million that Council have discussed tonight with Wheelers Bridge, Chanters Lane is a project that we've carried forward. It's a project being delivered by Macedon Rangers, and Council is making a 50% contribution to that as a boundary road. That's also listed as unlikely to be delivered. There's been some developments in recent days where that may change. And so the outlook is perhaps a little more positive than perhaps what might be reflected in the agenda tonight, particularly given the decision of Council tonight around the Wheelers Bridge project. There are some challenges. We would like to have been further ahead than what we are, and we're doing everything we can to expedite the delivery, but there are some challenges in doing that.
Thank you, Mr. Lucas. Any other questions? No, well, I just question here.
Just in rates, in relation to the debts around rates, there seems to be some differing opinion around how rosy our performance is in that space, and even to express it in terms of the stress that people are experiencing in that with the rising cost of living people are experiencing. Are we presenting an overly rosy picture of where our position is, given that there seems to be a suggestion that we're actually, people are not paying their rates on time as often?
Happy to take it later on. So we're not presenting an overly rosy picture, we're presenting the facts. There's rates outstanding, as there are at 79 councils. We have a really high rate collection here in the Shire, in the high 90s, and that continues. you can see some significant increase, and it depends on how you look at it and how you want to break the figures up and how you want to work through it. If you look at our December 25 outstanding rates to December 24, it's a 12% increase. We had a 10% rate increase, and we had an emergency services fund well above that. So at a raw number, our collection is better than 12 months ago. We are collecting our debts. We are working with ratepayers, and absolutely not taking away that individual ratepayers will have individual concerns. And that's what our team is there for. And we talk about it time after time and encourage people to call us up and work through their means. We are very happy to consider payment plans. We have multiple ways of receiving debts. We are very good at working with people and putting them in touch with financial counselling and working through hardship. But we don't have, and I'll make this really clear, our collection rates are quite good and are not of concern to us in terms of shutting the doors or anything like that. We are collecting our rates at a reasonable level. We are working with the people that have outstanding debts, and we work with the people that contact us. And that's my best message that I can get to ratepayers and for councillors to provide to community members. If people have got outstanding rates, give us a call and we can work through those payment items. Some people will look at the figures and say, we don't have a lot of payment plans or formalised some of them because they are informal payment plans that exist. Some of the underlying data shows that we've got quite a few ratepayers with very little debt, but we do have some very long-term ones. So there's not a rosy picture that we're providing. We are providing the raw facts. The raw facts absolutely show an increase on year to year, as you would expect, because our rates went up by 10%, the rate cap went up by 3.5% or whatever it was. So not unreasonable. We are working with our ratepayers day in, day out to work through that, but there's no overarching concern around collectability overall, and there is no concern around overall debt paying that's having an impact on cash management or not paying suppliers or anyone like that.
Thank you. Anyone? Any other questions? Anyone like to speak for the motion? Anyone like to speak against the motion? No,
I'll speak against the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Hood.
Yeah. At a high level, on the basis that the motion simply asks us to note the financial position, and I'm more than happy to do that. I will note it. But to me, the financial position on Outlook requires more than noting. It needs some action, and it needs a half-year budget review that actually leads to some changes in the budget itself, some numerical changes, but also importantly, a message and some communication to every stakeholder, whether it's the state government or our ratepayers. And as Councillor Cornish quite rightly pointed out, it's relatively meaningless to look at half-year surplus of $14 million, and the income statement's got 12 months worth of income and only 6 months worth of costs. So naturally, it's imbalanced. What's far more important is cash, and the only thing that's important is cash. The report indicates that despite having a first half year of quite low expenditure, particularly capital expenditure, the bank balance has dropped down to $12 million. But let's remember too that $2 million of that is owed to the state government in the form of the Essential Services Levy that we've retained for good reason. So the report doesn't indicate that, but the bank balance is really lower than what we think it might be. And as Mr. Thomas says, let's stick to the facts. I'm not really interested in rates. I'm interested in the rate of collection. I'm interested in the absolute amounts. And I look at a few of the comments in the report, and it says, quote, "There are no major items for concern," end quote. Well, the cash flows are a concern. Only 3% of residential ratepayers are on any sort of payment arrangement, and they owe over $4 million. That has to be a concern. In terms of the integrity of the council plan and the budget and the promises that we've made in there, the untimely delivery of those commitments must be of concern. It's also of concern that one business customer owes $525,000 and growing. A second statement in the report says, quote, "There are no community implications associated with this report," end quote. Well, there are thousands of households that are struggling to pay their rates on time. They're accruing interest at 10% per annum, accruing daily. And $532,000 is owed in unpaid interest charges, never mind rates itself. So there are community implications. Another statement says there are no risk implications associated with this report. Well, there's reputational risk. Having applied a 10% rate increase, if we can't deliver the promises in the plan and the budget in a timely manner, then there are serious reputational risks there. I've already mentioned that there are cash flow risks. There are other operational risks. Only 17% of the IT budget has been spent at the halfway mark of the year, and we know that there's heightened risk there, especially in the context of recent audit findings. And then, of course, there's the financial sustainability risk. If a council has to be able to fund the construction of new assets, contribute to grants, do disaster recovery funding, if it can't do those sorts of things, then you have to ask yourself, is it viable? The report is now indicating that we're struggling to provide the basic services and projects on time. So a half-year report would certainly indicate what's going to be deferred and will it be deferred or scrapped. Perhaps, though, the statement that I have the most trouble with and most uncomfortable with is the justification for not changing the budget to recognise increased legal costs and the struggling cash flow issues is that we're materially on track to budget. But let's remember, colleagues, that this year's budget will lead to another almost $5 million underlying deficit on top of the $30 million worth of deficits in recent years. So how can you get any sort of comfort from the fact that we're heading towards another large multi-million-dollar deficit? That in itself should trigger in our minds that, gee, we better do something about this, not just note what's going on. We've got serious financial obligations under the Act as councillors, and to simply note and not do anything about it is just not fair on the organisation or on the community who expects services and infrastructure from us. So far more urgent action is required, I would suggest.
Thank you, Councillor Hood. Anyone else like to speak against the motion? Councillor Hockey, would you like the right of reply?
No, I'm happy at this point. Thank you.
All right, then, nothing else to say, councillors. I will put the motion to the floor. All those in favour, raise your hands.
Councillors Dryly, Hockey, Henderson, Cornish and Clark.
All those against?
Good.
Thank you very much. I'll declare the motion carried. And councillors, I think we all are aware that as we move forward, our budget is going to be a very, very serious issue that we all need to pay attention to. And over the coming months, we'll certainly be turning our minds to that. So thank you, everybody. Okay. Okay. 8.4, curbside screening project. Councillor Cornish, would you like to?
Thank you. In accordance with the State Government's Circular Economy, Waste Reduction and Recycling Act 2021, all local government areas in Victoria are required to provide all households with a 4-stream curbside collection service, inclusive of separate services for general waste, the red bin, the mixed cycling, which is the yellow bin, the glass recycling, which will be a purple bin, and food organics and garden organics, which is the FOGO green bin, by July 2027.
Thank you very much. We will also we'll take the motion as take the paper as read. Councillors, to get the paper on. Oh, sorry, get it on the floor? Would anyone like to put it forward? We have an officer's recommendation. Councillor, order motion. Councillors?
Oh, I'll move it on.
You'll move.
Recommendation, yes.
Thank you. And I'd like to second the motion. Thank you, Councillor Henderson. Councillor Corn, should I just speak to the motion?
This motion explains that the service standards are final, that we don't want to make a decision until the standards are finalised by the state government. We don't have those standards, so we don't have a position yet. And the current curbside contract term concludes in July 2028. Oh God, we can't really implement an extended four-stream service until we have all the information required to be able to inform ourselves and the public. But in saying that, I must say, having 4 bins at home, like many other residents, I'm not too keen. I think that one centralised collection depot, being in our main towns mainly, a big purple bin or something to that effect would be more appropriate. Also, given the fact that it would take quite a long time to fill up a bin with glass and plastic. So I don't think it's very practical. I'll just leave it there.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Henderson.
Yes, Mayor. I've got a bit of a view at rubbish bins and recycling bins. No, and I see already the underutilisation of our bins, particularly our commingled recycle and our FOGO bins. And I see that FOGO bins aren't really being used for what I consider food and organics. They're being used for organics. It's coming in into the grass now. We're going to get all the grass clippings and not too much food waste. So another bin. Well, where do we put all these wretched bins? And as Councillor Corney says, how do we manage to fill those up? I know sometimes I do collect bottles at home, and you've got to go, we're just ratepayers the same as anybody else. And we do use glass, but it takes ages to fill a bin, and particularly where some of the glass now is being able to be put in to get recycled and reclaimed for a 10-cent refund. People are utilising that. So I think we're making inroads, and I think that we should put this off for as long as we possibly can, and that we should be, like Councillor Corney says, we should be lobbying to have the centralised receptacles rather than a bin at every door. I just wonder how we're going to look after the environment by manufacturing plastic bins and all the energy that takes and all the off-gassing that comes from the manufacture of plastic, putting yet another lot of plastic bins into the environment to save some glass that doesn't really affect the environment. So as far as I'm concerned, this is a good motion. We put it off as long as we can. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Henderson. Councillors, any questions for you? Does anyone else want to speak to the motion? No, Councillor. Anyone else like to speak for the motion?
Yes, I will briefly.
Councillor Halkey.
Just to that question, that there are statistics here actually in the report that councils that have gone down this path that found presentation rates of 1 in 5 households putting them out, and then they're only 30% full. But it's hard to think of another example where the community is just not on board with this idea. Massive resistance, and again, ambition's wonderful, but sometimes it gets ahead of itself, and the community is not in this space. So this would be very counterproductive. Thanks, Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Anyone else like to speak for the motion?
Yeah, I'll speak.
Thank you, Councillor Drum.
I think we need to be clear about separating the need for a greater recycling program around the contamination of glass in our recycle system, because it has been a huge issue for us progressing a successful program, and glass recycling in a separate deposit is a very sensible thing, and we need to encourage residents to to continue their journey on reducing waste in our communities. And we do need to have education, continuing support for people to do that. And glass recycling, and at a state level, it makes a lot of sense to be pursuing this, but in particular, it makes more sense in some other areas, such as in metro areas or where there are higher volumes. And consideration, I think, at a local level in the rural council around the considerable implementation costs of a separate glass bin and the environmental impact of that needs to be thought through. So I think it's disappointing that we are in this position where we have to consider delaying an important service. But I understand, given the legislative delays and pause around this issue, that we do need to be sensible and considerate of our local nuances. And this is, I think, given all the circumstances, this is a wise decision to pause the implementation of this extra service until we can make an informed decision about a centralised deposit scheme and the improvements around the container deposit opportunities with including other glass items. There are other opportunities that could come into play in the next 12 to 18 months.
Thank you, Councillor Drowley. Any other councillors? I'll speak against the motion. Okay, with that, I'll put the motion. You like to finish up? Would you like to, there's no right reply, but yes, go on. Because not voting again. If you wish to sum up, absolutely.
Oh, okay. That's all right. Go with the rules. Fine by me. I was always used to a lot of them.
All right, well, yeah, there was no right to reply because not against. All right, all those in favour, hands up.
Pass unanimously.
Thank you, councillors. Look, I'm really supportive. Just for what it's worth, I'm very supportive. I think applying recycling is absolutely a good idea. We need to embrace it. However, applying a metro solution in a regional setting is inappropriate. Thank you very much, councillors. We'll move now to item 8.5, priority projects. Councillor Hockey, please.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this report is to obtain council endorsement for an advocacy document that identifies priority projects and initiatives, reflecting the council's ongoing commitment to advocacy, particularly as the state election approaches. The 10 projects included have been selected based on recent capital works planning, council resolutions on significant matters, collaboration with peak bodies, and consultation both with councillors and officers. It should be noted that a range of other projects outlined within master plans, asset renewal programs, and additional strategic documents are also critical for both the council and the community. Therefore, this priority statement does not represent an exhaustive or exclusive list of future initiatives. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councillors, we do have a officer's recommendation in front of us. We've got the information. Would anyone like to put forward a motion? Councillors? Do we not have a motion?
I'm happy to put forward the officer's recommendation.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hockey. I would like to second that motion. We have a seconder?
Second.
You'll second it? Thank you, Councillor Hanson. Councillor Hockey, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, only to the effect that, yes, this is terrific that we've identified these 10 projects, but the list, of course, is more expansive and the community is a big part of that, where our future lies is ultimately in the hands of the community and what their interests are. So, yeah, I commend the motion and the list of 10 projects and look forward to seeing them funded. And that's an open question, isn't it? We don't know how enthusiastically they will be funded. Let's hope.
Thank you very much. Councillor Henderson.
Yes, I believe that we do have to have priority projects, whether or not we can fund them. We do have to have projects there in the places opportunity provides, and we do need to continue to go forward. We can't Justine Nathan. I do hope that the priority projects there include Wheelers Bridge that we determined earlier on we would try and fund. So for me, we have no other choice other than to prioritise what we've got. And so I commend the motion. Please.
Thank you, councillors. Do you agree with this?
I have some clarification.
Yes.
Councillor Hockey put the officers' recommendation.
Yep.
Councillor Henderson spoke about Wheelers Bridge, but just for clarification, the officers' recommendation does not include Wheelers Bridge.
Do we need
so you need to ask for an
an amendment? So
I'll
councillors.
just give notice, I will amend it.
Okay, so with amendment as per, do we have the writing up from the, so councillors can see?
It's okay, I think you're going to.
So I'll get it.
Oh, yeah.
I'll get it seconded.
It miraculously appeared, and in fact, I had it written on my own page, so I should have.
All right, so as the movers, you're happy to.
Happy to accept
the
that.
motion that's in front, yeah.
I'll second the amendment.
Are you seconding the amendment? Okay, that's
Oh, no,
fine.
you need to.
Don, so Don, it just makes it easier just to, is that right? Okay.
So indeed, 11 projects, does that make it?
Yes, that's right.
All right, so councillors, we have a motion in front of us. Do we have any questions?
I do have a question about that, if I may, Mr. Mayor. About the amendment, if we can just have a look at that again. I would be happy if we actually put the amount that we're going to be advocating for, so it's a total project amount.
So can you just talk me through, so you're amending?
No, I just want to add the total project amount for the Wheelers.
Oh, Wheelers, okay, thank you.
Yeah, because every other project has a total amount that we're advocating for. So we need to maybe include that there.
All right, so.
If the mover and seconder.
Yes, so councillor
further amendment.
Henderson, you happy with that further
Or
amendment?
do we know that number?
Yeah, we do. Maybe our CEO might be able to tell us, or Mr. Lucas.
Number there.
It's close to 10 million.
But through your, for clarification there, the first part of the agenda was to create Wheelers Bridge as an additional priority project. We would then design a one-page consistent with the statements that's in front. The total project of Wheelers Bridge is the facility of $8 to $10 million as we're working through the procurement component. Of course, there's already a substantial federal government commitment of $200 million and some council funding as well. So for the ease of the recommendation for tonight, that would be the total. And given the recommendation earlier at 8.1, council officers and councillors will be working on achieving the gap. I just don't have those figures in terms of the gap, but the total, and we've designed the statement in line with similar documents that you've got in front for the other projects. The key pieces including Wheelers Bridge as an 11th project in that priority statement.
So do we need to authorise officers to make understanding where we are? You don't have that on you. Do we need to authorise that?
Part 3 of the motion authorises the chief executive officer to make minor administrative changes, so we'll be able to do that.
Okay, you comfortable, Councillor Cook?
I'm not quite sure that we're doing this quite right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm happy to do it, but I don't know that we're doing it quite correctly.
Sorry, Councillor Henson, you're going to pursue the governance rules. Is that?
Well, we had a motion.
Yes.
And so that we're moving the project because that was a condition. But we're now adding another thing. You know, we could be here adding things.
No, but the only thing we're adding is in my, correct me if I'm wrong, but the only thing we're adding is the 11th project will still as per, and then obviously question that the numbers need to be added, but that can be changed. What councils officers don't have that information, but the item number 3 of the motion allows them to make those modifications. So it's just the one. Councillor Cook, Dr. Smith.
Just for added clarity, just one question. That 10 million we were just told is the total project cost. But we are actually applying for total project costs of all the other projects. So why aren't we doing it here?
No, that's the statements that's been developed has the total. And that would be, I've included $10 million to round it. We would need to go through and say, how much have we already got from federal government? This is a project that's already got a council element to it.
Thank you. Thank you.
So,
I just need a clarity that we're only talking about that the funding that we already have in the way of a grant. We're not actually going to include our council contribution.
In the total.
that was the intent, given that's what effectively councillors did by point A1, creating funding.
No, I just need clarity. That's okay. That's good. And also on the point that Councillor Henderson raised about adding projects, I believe we actually have to add this because it forms part of our total advocacy group of projects. And if it was on its own, it may just get a little lost in time. But it's a good thing. That's why I really need to.
Councillors, any other questions? Anyone would like to speak for the motion? Anyone like to speak against the motion?
Yes, Mayor, you won't be surprised that I'll speak against the motion. Having said that, I fully appreciate the need for an advocacy statement and the critical role that advocacy with all levels of government plays for Hepburn Shire Council. So, yes, we have a project statement at the right time. No argument will convince me that creating a priority statement now doesn't preempt the budget. Of course it does. This is the horse and cart in the wrong order. Putting projects onto this list and talking to governments about it jumps the queue ahead of everything else we're going to do in the coming months in forming our next budget. So it preempts the budget and it shouldn't do that. I think there are inferences in here that are potentially misleading as to the level of community support and priority that these projects currently attract and the level of consultation that's happened so far. And as to the content and the list of 10 or 11 itself, I'm supportive of some and not of others. Adding in a $10 million bridge now to avoid a 15-minute detour for 70 vehicles a day just makes it even more fanciful than what it was in its initial draft. So for goodness sake, let's produce a report or a statement at the right time, give some respect to the budgeting process and the community, and then put it in front of the stakeholders at the right time and with the right content. And I'd have to go back to December last year to look at the example of Daylesford Town Hall. We were going to ask for $4 million on design plans that 38 people support and 27 don't, and the other thousands are absolutely silent on. So this makes a mockery of the process, and our credibility as a group, putting this in front of any level of government, is just quite unbelievable. So it's a respectful no from me, Mayor.
Noted. Councillor Hockey, would you like to respond?
Yes, just in the sense that, as I said before, this is a set of guidelines in a sense. It's not the final word on any of these projects. I think with respect to the bridge, it's being compared to a set of change rooms or a football ground. A bridge is something else altogether, and government funders frame it in a different way. So roads are expensive, but they're not to be compared to a set of change rooms or football over. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hockey. With that, I will put the motion to the vote. All those in favour, raise your hands.
Councillor Hockey, Henderson, Cornish and Clark.
Against?
And Hood.
Okay, I think we'll declare that carried. Thank you, councillors. Okay. All right. We will now go to 8.6 Audit and Risk Committee. Councillor Hood, could you please introduce?
Yes, Mayor. The Audit and Risk Committee held a meeting way back on the 24th of November 2025, and arising from that meeting were two recommendations. One, to appoint a chair for the coming year, that chairperson being one of the independent members, and secondly, to appoint an alternative councillor member to the committee should either of the two permanent members of the committee councillor reps be unavailable.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Councillor Hood. We have an officer's recommendation in front of us. Anyone like to put that recommend now? Just with note, the recommendation we have, Councillor Cornish has put a name forward for to be the alternate member. So is that noted in the? It is that. So we have a officer's recommendation in front of us. Councillor, do you want to put that motion?
Yeah, I'll put the motion.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hood. Would anyone like to second that motion?
I'll second.
Second, thank you. Councillor Hood, would you like to speak to the motion?
I don't think it requires any further explanation.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councillor Cornish? No, thank you. Anyone else would like to, any questions? Anyone like to speak for? Against? Okay, with that, I'll put that motion forward. All those in favour, raise your hands.
Passed unanimously.
Passed unanimously. Thank you, everybody. Hey, all right. Sorry, just getting down. All right. 8.7, item 8.7, ALGA motions, ALGA motions. Councillor Dryley, would you like to introduce, please?
Thank you. So this motion, the Municipal Association of Victoria will hold its State Council on the 29th of May 2026. The Australian Local Government Association, ALGA, will hold its National General Assembly on the 23rd June 2026. And MAV and ALGA are the state and federal peak bodies for local government. Both the MAV and ALGA call for councils to be considered and debate at these events. If passed, these motions effectively become the work plan for MAV and ALGA to work towards. This report considers 4 motions to each of the MAV and ALGA that take into around the role of the peak bodies and initiatives council has been working on. One is that the recommendation that submits the following 2 motions to the May 2026 Municipal Association Victoria State Council. 2, that the Municipal Association Victoria advocates strongly to the Premier, Attorney General and Minister of Local Government for the inclusion of local government within its proposed workplace protection orders that are to be introduced by legislation in April 26 or in similar legislation. 3, that the MAV advocates strongly to the Minister for Emergency Services and Minister of Local Government to at least double the annual municipal emergency resourcing program funding provided to councils, and also request that funding is annually increased by the rate cap to ensure councils can meet critical emergency management responsibilities. 4, submits the 2 motions to the 26th Australian Local Government Association National Assembly, which is the same as the other 2. I don't think I need to read them out again.
Thank you very much, Councillor Dryley.
Or is that correct or not? No, it's not actually. Is it? A, that the Australian Local Government Association strongly advocates the Federal Minister for Communications to implement the recommendations regarding volumetric attacks as outlined in the report of the Statutory Review of the Online Safety Act 21. This will enable the eSafety Commission to receive the necessary legislative support to effectively address volumetric attacks. B, that the Australian Local Government Association should initiate a comprehensive nationwide communications and marketing campaign that promotes positive messages about the vital role of local government and the wide array of services it provides. This campaign should also include targeted messaging aimed at countering negative community behaviours and addressing social media attacks directed at councillors and officers. And 5, authorises the Chief Executive Officer to make minor administrative amendments to the motions if necessary.
All right. Councillors, I will put that motion. We have an officer recommendation in front of us. Anyone like to put that motion?
Question, please, Mayor. First.
Yeah, well, let's get the motion up. We'll get the motion there, and then absolutely we'll come back to you, Councillor Hood. I'll put the motion forward. Thank you, Councillor Dryley. Would you like to second that? Thank you, councillor Henderson. Councillor Drake, would you like to speak to it at all?
Look, I'd just like to support the role that these governing associations play in terms of advocacy at the local, the federal and the state level, and that while the implementation of the recommendations don't always go to plan, they form a really important body of work that are presented to federal and state governments for consideration, and that this is a really active space for councils to work in terms of workshopping changes that are really important changes that that can be affected, and for us to be represented at those important meetings as well. So I will leave it there because the two motions speak for themselves.
Thank you very much, councillor. Councillor Henderson, please.
I'm quite happy to, something that councillor Hood might ask us a question might influence what I have to say.
Councillor,
Seconded it.
you've seconded, that's fine, and you might be able to speak for it or against it. Councillor Bush, question.
Yes, look, I'm supportive of these motions. I'm simply looking for a clarification in this case, particularly in part 4A. In this context, what is meant by volumetric attacks? I know what volumetric means, but in this context, are they saying that, well, what are they saying about what volumetric attacks?
What's the meaning of plain language?
So the e-safety commissioner can look at poor posts, particularly through social media, but at the moment they've got to consider each post by itself. So if I was attacking Mr. Lucas online social media and I was doing it 10 times a day, every day, that's volumetric, and therefore we believe that part of the motion should be considered. Whereas in fact, the legislation doesn't allow them to say that that was 10 attacks a day. They've got to consider each individual attack on its merits. And so this is designed to at least allow the e-safety commissioner, and it's a really real life example that we had here at Hepburn Shire, unfortunately, and real life examples that are being felt across the local government sector, where one or two members of our community are continually attacking councillors and officers. The voluminous of all of those attacks is not something that e-safety commissioner currently has legislation, and we believe strongly that this motion would assist in that.
Okay, thank you for the explanation. I mean, obviously, the volumetric attacks, that should be addressed. They should have the authority to do that. What I was worried about was, okay, if I attack Mr. Lucas 10 times, then okay, I'm going to be held accountable. But what if I attack him one time? Badly. I mean, is it just a simple numbers game?
No, so the current legislation allowed the e-safety commissioner to look at that one attack and decide whether that was inappropriate or not. Okay. But imagine the situation where they go, that one attack was not good, but not terrible. But imagine if we had 10 okay attacks. And so this is looking at that repeated action aimed at individuals. So it's just adding powers for the e-safety commission.
Hope you feel safe, Mr. Lucas.
Probably shouldn't Mr. Lucas for using an example.
Just detective very off.
So, Councillor, does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Yeah. As I say, I'm supportive of it. I just wanted to clarify why they were using that particular term.
Any other questions? Would anyone speak for the motion, Councillor? Come back to you, Councillor Henderson.
It's nice bit of information. I think it's very important that we do support motions that go to these forums. I'm not so sure that we should be actually seeing the need. There are plenty of other people who go there. We've got GBAC, we've got all the sort of people that represent us from other councils that are able to go there. If we're in a different financial position, and I note that we didn't go last year, a lot of the questions that people ask, you go to these conferences to really do network and to talk to people. Last year, most of the questions we had were from the infrastructure minister is in Ballarat.
So, yes, Councillor, so this we're not discussing about attending the conference. We're discussing the motion.
I believe it was mentioned in the the mover did mention that we should be attending this. But anyway, I've just got a view that we shouldn't. But
Okay.
Anyway.
Noted, thank you.
Anyway, I think that it's important that they do get discussed there, and I think those motions are important to go there. Whether it needs us necessarily there to prosecute those motions, I'm different.
Yep. Okay, thank you very much. Would anyone else like to put forward the motion? Anyone like to speak against the motion? Okay, councillors, well, with that, I will put the motion to the floor. All those in favour, raise your hands.
Passed unanimously.
Thank you very much, councillors. Appreciate that. 8.6, we're now heading to some quite procedural motions. So this is the instrument of delegation under the Environmental Planning Act 1987. It relates to updating the delegations which occur on a regular basis. Mr. Thomas, or would you have to talk through this at all?
Fairly administrative, but there's a role in terms of our planners being able to undertake and issue permits, and effectively this is what this relates to. There's no significant changes. There's no changes in terms of what is or isn't coming from council. It's really around individuals and picking up from Maddocks who use their services, providing information, but no significant changes, just really good governance to update it on a regular basis as staff names change, as there's minor changes in legislative.
Okay, thank you. Councillors, we have an officer's recommendation in front of us, so I'd like to put a motion forward. Thank you, Councillor Henderson. You would like to second that? Thanks, very big.
Recommendation.
Yes, with the officer. Yes, thank you. Officer recommendation.
Been seconded, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hockey. Would anyone any questions? No, Councillor, I'm sure you want to speak for or against. I wouldn't have thought so. Yeah. Okay. Right, we'll put that motion to the floor. All those in favour? Hands.
Passed unanimous.
Thank you all very much, councillors. 8.9, another procedural motion, is just acknowledging the council attendance. I think it's all fairly self-explanatory. We have a officer's recommendation, which I presume is adopted. Would anyone like to put that forward?
Move.
Thank you, Councillor Coyne. Do you want to second it?
Happy to second.
Thank you, Councillor Henderson. Do you have to speak for it? No, that's fine. Any questions? Anyone else like to speak for or against? No. No? Okay, Council, we'll put that to the floor. All those in favour, raise your hands.
Passed unanimously.
Thank you very much, councillors. Okay. Sorry, just going through. You're all too fast for this one. No, item number 10, items for urgent business. I don't believe we have any items. So we'll go to item 11, which is reports. The Mayor's report. So I will just like to give a quick report. I've submitted the written report as well. And I'd like to talk just talk about a couple of subjects. Advocacy, which I think is a really, really important one. It was great to attend the Rural Councils Victoria launch last month or this month. And I think I just want to draw councillors' attention to and our community's attention to at that meeting, funding is a number one issue across all of the rural shires. I certainly asked a number of very pointed questions around funding items. I was also pleased that Mr. Thomas, as a part of the delegation on the executive, attended and met the Treasurer, which I'm sure he will talk about. We've also had meetings with our local members, Marianne Thomas and Martha Haylett. We've been talking about a range of issues. Reports around to all the councils about those meetings. But we are continuing, just to be very, very clear, we are talking about funding on a longer, and not just funding for small individual projects, but the systemic issues of funding that we face in the rural and regional environment. In terms of which we will obviously, and obviously I'm planning on continuing doing. In terms of, and I think there's a really good example. There's a program called Pick My Park. It's in line with Pick My Project, and it's Ballarat have received a lot of funding for it. And what is interesting, councillors, is that project has been funded for Metro, funded for regional, and rural councils are specifically excluded. Just represent some of the challenges we've got to face. In terms of some of the events, it was great to visit Coles, and I would just like to, Coles have expanded and they've reopened this month in the Youth Centre, and I would just like to draw attention that some of the really important things that Coles does, obviously it's the obvious thing is a supermarket, but it employs our youth, it gives them great opportunities to learn. It purchases a local product which it sells to support our local suppliers and producers, and it also supports community groups like the Grub Club, providing them food, etc. unneeded food, etc., which I think is a really important part. So councillors, that will sum up my report, and I'll submit the written report as read. Thank you. We'll now go to continue on the council reports. Councillor, we'll go to 10.2. Councillor Shirley Collins.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I don't have a lot to say here. I was out of action for a couple of weeks. So I didn't do any council duties, but I did attend the citizenship ceremony at the end of January, which was really a fabulous event. Many councillors attended, and 14 people became Australian citizens. That was a very nice event. It was held here in the chamber and attended by many. I might just leave it at that. I haven't been able to get around, but will do very soon.
Thank you very much, Councillor Cornish. So, Councillor Dryley.
Thank you, Mayor. I do have a written report. I will read some of it, and it's I too attended the citizenship ceremony. And it's it is a moment where it cuts through the noise of other things, because people stand up in front of their neighbours and family and friends and choose to become members of this country, and with the shared rights and responsibilities of that. And at a time when migrants and issues of diversity are often dragged into angry debates, it's a reminder that most people simply get on with life, actively contributing and becoming an integral part of our communities. Alongside that, I attended a powerful event in Ballarat with the Survival Day Dawns ceremony in Lake Minderee on January 26. It was a meaningful, moving event with real strength, led by young Indigenous people and elders, with culture carried through song, dance, and some incredibly sobering truth-telling. When people finished, they didn't rush away. They stayed on, gathered, checked in with each other, and really proving that healing is a process done better together. Back here in Hepburn, we issued a clear, strong statement on January 26 in partnership with our Reconciliation Action Committee. We acknowledge the profound disruption of colonisation and its continuing impacts. We affirmed that Dja Dja Wurrung and First Nations people who live among us are strong, resilient and vibrant, and we stood with Jara's decision not to celebrate Australia Day, and confirmed Council would continue not to host events on January 26, among other things. And for me, it really sits within an important ongoing truth-telling and treaty journey in Victoria, and it's important that we remain respectfully progressive and steady in that work. Later in February, I attended the Destination Central Victoria's rebranding and launch in Castlemaine. It was a genuine mix of legacy and momentum as people honoured the late CEO Steve Rowe and launched a new regional brand, website and visitor app titled Victoria's Heartland, a place of plenty. It's also a reminder, I think, that as we grow the visitor economy regionally, there's an increasing need to keep it sustainable and make sure local people can still find affordable, secure housing in civilly protected towns that they work in and help keep running. I want to mention the MAB's regional meeting that I attended, and a common theme that's come up tonight and in that meeting continues to be that expectations and costs keep rising, while the gap between what communities need and what councils are resourced to deliver is widening. MAB's Future is Local work presented at the meeting set out a practical direction that centres trust, leadership, resilient and connected communities, shared prosperity and working together for the future.
10 seconds, Councillor.
And I just wanted to mention the devastating fires that tore through parts of Victoria during January, in particular the communities of Harcourt and West Ballarat around Streatham, and where homes and livelihoods were lost along with stock and others. And I can send my condolences to everyone involved.
Thank you very much, as to you. And just a small clarification, as Council of Hepburn does not host Australia Day events, but we are very happy to and have supported community organisations to carry Australia Day events and celebrate the way they choose. So, but thank you very much. Councillor Henderson.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. I recently attended the New Age Care Unit at the Creswick Hospital along with Councillor Hewitt. $16 million project funded by the state government gives each patient their own room. Ensuite, this certainly improves their experience, particularly from a dignity and privacy perspective. Sadly, we were informed that there's a waiting list of 38. Local community established a fundraising committee and in a couple of months raised $150,000 towards the project, which is a great effort. On this coming Thursday, we'll see a celebration of the 150th year of the Creswick Town Hall. The building is still in great structural condition, and the recent repairs to the roof and painting should ensure the building lasts well into the future. And I urge all people to go along and take part in the event. This year, we've been extremely fortunate. There have been no major fires events, as country is very dry, the weather extremely hot and windy. And I'm talking about the Hepburn Shire. There is a need for heightened awareness of the dangers, particularly in this area. When we see some of our camping visitors do with campfires, it makes me cringe. And I do not think that we promote our region I do think that when we promote our region as a camping destination, we must include some warnings and education about the dangers of campfires. I attended the Australia Day events in Ballarat this year. The event was very low key and the section of Victoria Park was more like a country market. I will express my disappointment at the statement put out by the Shire regarding events in our Shire. Unfortunately, this caused some division, which was very unfortunate and not positive for reconciliation. This year, enough volunteers willing to run an event in Creswick could not be found, but the upside is that the successful events were run by volunteers in Clunes and Trentham. I recently attended the meeting of the Dean Recreation Reserve Committee and can say that they are a very well organised group who are always looking to enhance the area, and their ability to fundraise from successful events must be applauded. The group work very well together and always look to assist other groups where possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Henderson. Councillor Hockey.
Thanks, Mayor. Look, I will table mine as it appears in the agenda. I'll just mention that the Sunset at the Springs event was great fun. I actually ended up on the stage, and the Creswick one's coming up on Thursday at, I think, 5 it starts. Yeah, the kids are amazing. The way they ran themselves. Encourage people to get along. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Hood.
Thanks, Mayor. I'll just briefly mention that the Lionville Hall Committee, Lionville Hall being a council asset, recently staged the 75th version of their woodshop, which again was a highly successful event, great community event. Also raised substantial funds for the maintenance and upkeep of the hall, and so they did a great job. And similarly, the Trentham Lions Club conducted a very respectful, very good, strongly offended function, flag raising ceremony on the 26th of January, and struck the right balance, and it was a very good event.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Councillor Hood. With that, we'll put a recommendation to councillors that we adopt councillor reports. Thank you. Seconded? Second. All right, I won't call it. All those in favour? Okay, thank you very much, councillors. All right, we now go to 10.3, Chief Executive, Mr. Thomas.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of items, obviously, very quickly into 2026. A couple of events that are coming out that I just wanted to draw people's attention to. We're hosting our International Women's Day function on the Wednesday, the 4th of March. Encourage people to jump onto our website and register their attendance. It's usually a fantastic evening. And also our Nominations for the 2026 Community Awards are currently open, will remain open till Friday the 6th of March. But we'll be accepting nominations, and we'll be holding that event this year during National Volunteer Week, which is the week beginning the 18th of May, to better align around, I suppose, the availability and celebration of volunteers. I too want to acknowledge the fires right across the state and the really important role that local government provides. Often maybe a little bit unsung, but really want to thank so many people at various local governments, but particularly to our staff at Hepburn Shire, who put their hand up to go and help other LGAs as well. So I really do appreciate that really collective spirit in local government. It's fantastic. And when there is times that are tough, and particularly neighbouring LGAs, particularly this time around fires, it's really impressive to see. And the Mayor touched on it earlier. We did have the pleasure of attending Rural Council's Victoria event last week. And two things I want to comment on. One, in my role, I got a chance 40 minutes to sit down with the Treasurer of Victoria, and a really good opportunity to put Rural Council Victoria's ask, which is a $1 billion fund for rural and regional communities to fund the very projects that we've been talking a lot about tonight. I use that opportunity to really talk about the investment that is needed in rural communities and used a lot of the Hepburn scenario that we've been on a journey around our financial sustainability over the last few months. And it was really a highlight to attend that RCV event and have many other local governments looking to Hepburn Shire around financial sustainability, around advocacy, around projects. I was talking to a councillor early today around a pulse siren trial that we've now got at our transfer stations. We're very much leading in that rural council. So it's a great sector to be part of, but it was really pleasing to sort of highlight the great work that Hepburn Shire continues to do.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Thomas. With that, I'll put up the recommendation is that we receive and note the Chief Executive's report. I'd like to put the motion forward. Councillor Cornish.
Yes.
Councillor Hockey. All those in favour?
Unanimously.
Thank you very much, councillors. Let's go down. I think that's end of the meeting. So, councillors, I would like to thank you for your time. For the community out there watching, thank you for joining this action-packed event. And council, look forward to seeing you at our council meeting on the 24th of March. I hereby declare the meeting closed. Thank you, Mr. White. If you could end transmission, that'd be great.
Thank you, Mayor Clark. I'll stop the live stream now.